We've got first caller here is from Down Under. He is a Kiwi, but he lives in Australia. This is Adrian or Kip in the CLP Discord. You are up first, sir. Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Bart.
How's it going?
Yeah, great.
So, where are you? You're playing out of Crown in Sydney or what?
No, Crown Melbourne.
Crown Melbourne. And it's a 2-5 game, right?
2-5, 1K cap. But the effective stacks are, with the main villain, is 619.
Okay, so kind of short. Okay, start us off here.
So I'm in the cutoff, and I've got the Jack 10 of hearts.
Okay.
It folds to me, and I raise 20, which is my standard.
Okay.
Button and the small blind call. The main villain is the small blind.
So the button and the small blind call. Just 2 blinds, right? No straddle or anything like that. So late position open, button and the small blind call. So you get a late position call from the button. Little bit. I mean, you might have more calls here than if it was a 3 blind game, and then an overcall in the small blind, and the small blind is the primary villain here. Okay, so it looks like it's about $60, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And we head off to the flop, and the flop is the King of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, 8 of Spades.
King of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, 8 of Spades. Wow. So you've got an open-ended straight draw and a flush draw, right? With Jack 10 of Hearts?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's a pretty big draw.
Yes, and the small blind checks.
Mm-hmm.
The hero bets 25. The button folds and the small blind calls.
The button folds and the small blind calls. So your sizing here is a little bit over 1/3. I mean, I do think that I would do a lot of betting here for sure with, one of your best combo draws here. I mean, you really hit it, building a pot up to the nuts. You definitely gain value from driving the button out. So that, you've got a good scenario here where the small blind has called, so you have position throughout the hand. I might size a little, again, it's a 3-way pot. And I know in theory wise, like certain boards, you're supposed to take the sizing based upon the situation and the board texture, not your hand. Sometimes I deviate from that. And I might actually choose to size up a little bit here, as I would with any type of real thick value hand that blocked top pair, just because you're building a larger pot up here towards the nuts. And now you're in a really great situation where you can decide whether or not you want to do something on the turn here. So I might have gone like 40 or 45, but you chose 25. Okay.
Yeah, while we didn't talk about the button stack, he's only got 700 as well, so they were both short stacks. So that was one of the reasons why I kept it small, was so that I could manipulate the pot later with sizing rather than getting pot stuck.
Right. Was the button around 600 effective as well?
He was 700, just under.
Even still, though, it's just still a single race pot. I still think you can manipulate pot size, like by, if you had gone, say, 40 or 45, you're still going to have stack depth. Again, just a little subtle thing, as one guy pointed out in chat and on Reddit. But okay, so now 25 and a call, and the pot's 110 on King of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, 8 of Spades, with you having Jack 10 of Hearts. Okay.
Yep, and the turn is the 9 of Diamonds.
I don't like that card. That's probably one of the worst cards, I would think, in the deck here, because of the fact that when you take... what do you think? So, let's go back to the flop. What do you think the small blind's calling range here is on the flop?
All kings, other flush draws, other straight draws.
Okay.
Pretty much rule out all sets and 2 pairs. And probably calls with all 9s and potentially even maybe all 8s closing the action.
Yeah, I think he would probably... he should call with any pair that's connected to the board. Now, what he has pre-flop that has a 9 in it, overcalling the small blind, I don't know how wide this guy is. It's a losing play to call with like Jack 9 suited in the small blind. Maybe like a 10-9 suited or Ace 9 suited, or maybe 8-9 suited, but that's 2 pair. So, there's not a ton of 9X, but now that the 9 comes, we know he's not going to be folding a king here either. And if he has a straight draw like a queen jack, you're actually kind of behind to that. But I'm not sure if you're really going to get any folds here if you bet, and it would suck, I feel like, to get raised in this spot if he did have a 9. Did he check to you?
He did check.
Okay.
Yeah, and so obviously I'm betting for the reasons as you said. I'm building towards the nuts, and I just want to get more money in this pot. So I bet 120.
Well, actually, I don't like this card, Adrian, on the turn.
Yeah.
I don't really like this card on the turn here because obviously he can have a 9, and we know he's not folding a king. So it's not even like this, and it's also too that this board is not like what we like to call top pair dynamic. I mean, if he's got a king here, there isn't going to be any overcards that are going to come except for an ace. It's not like if the board was like 8-6 deuce, and now the turn was a 6, and a guy might be holding on with 8x, and then you get an overcard here at the end. If he's got a king, he's got a king. So I would hate to get raised here too with by a 9 in this spot. And if he's not really folding a king, I mean, I don't know if is there anything to ever be said that you're trying to bet him off of like a higher draw? Like if he had like ace 4 of hearts or something like that?
I definitely had that in his range. At this point in time, it was one of the hands that I articulated before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I might do a lot of checking here, but you actually decided to overbet the pot 120.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm setting up here to go overbet if I miss.
So you actually are going to go for it. So if he calls here again and the river's like a black 3, you're actually going to go for it here and try to get him off a king?
Yes, that's my plan at this point in time.
Well, I mean, he does have somewhat of a collapsed range in the sense that I don't think he's ever going to really have ace king here, right? Because of preflop. You block a little bit of king jack, king 10, so king queen. I mean, the thing about your hand too that's not great is that you are blocking some of the draws that you hope he has too, which would be easy folds, like obviously some hearts, queen jack, queen 10, and the other jack 10. You have it in your hand. So I would almost rather, it's interesting because usually you don't think about, people usually tend to like pull back with the nut flush draw and not necessarily bluff it because they're like, oh, well, I've got showdown value. Like instead of having jack 10 of hearts here, say you had like ace 3 of hearts, I'd probably, well, not only would I rather have that hand just in case I get over flushed, but I'm saying I might actually rather run that. I might rather run that triple barrel in this spot. I'd rather have ace, like if the river comes and we brick out, I would rather have ace 3 of hearts here, I think. If the river's like a black deuce, than having jack 10 of hearts, just because you block some of the stuff that you want to fold out at the end. Do you follow me?
Yep. Yep.
So you bet 120 and he calls?
He calls. Takes a while to call.
Okay, so the small blind calls again. Do you think that you're able, like, I don't know what your image is, Adrian, like you think you might be able to push him off of a king here at the end?
Yes, I have a massive stack, and I've built it by just showing the nuts every time.
Well, that's a great image to have, for sure. And this is what I talk about.
This is an early morning game as well. I came in at like 6 a.m. and the game had run through the night, and this was one of the players who played through the night.
Okay, well, would be well, you don't want to try to bluff a stuck guy though. If he's like through the whole night trying to like get it back, that can be a little bit troublesome. This is always important to pay attention, but I like the idea of always showing down really strong hands. Like Michael G said in a recent podcast, it's almost like play action when you bluff. You've been just showing running the ball. This is American football, Adrian. Running the ball. You set up play action, which is a fake run. And then the linebackers bite and you get somebody open. Same type of thing here with bluffing if you've got a really, really good image. Now, 120 in a call, the pot now is 350, and you guys have about, what, like 450 behind. Okay.
And then the river is the ace of clubs.
Ace of clubs.
Yeah. This was a card that I was not expecting.
Uh-huh. Well,
So obviously, I have no showdown value.
right. There's three offsuit aces, right? And you ended up getting one that came.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this was one that really made me wonder whether it was still correct to go for it here. On one side, I can rep obviously having that ace-high flush draw, and then I just get the straight fold from the kings because
Right.
bet. And the other side of the thing is I could run just smack bang into the ace-high flush draw, and so he checks to me.
Well, let's think about this here. So he's going to check to you because I want to answer your question here because I have a gut reaction. I keep saying, and this might even be correct in theory here too, but I keep saying like sort of the live poker paradox, which I talk about, where you get these somewhat extreme run out boards. And sometimes you get the same fold equity, if not more, by actually betting less here. And I actually think this is a time to make it look kind of value-y and bet less. And the reason why I say that is because unless you think that he's going to check fold ace-x of hearts, let's assume that he's not. Let's say that his nut flush draws will call if you jam all in. Then you don't need to risk that all in to get him to fold out a king. He's going to call you with ace-x of hearts anyways, and then you just get like the queen 10 or something. Well, it's interesting though, because I don't know if like queen 10 continues to call with no hearts, but you get some of the other stuff if he's still in there with something else to fold out as well. I mean, you're just trying to get him to fold a king. So if you bet like 150 and that folds out all kings versus moving all in where all kings fold out, yes, but ace-x of hearts calls and some sort of sandbag hand has been slow played, then you actually risk less by sizing down a little bit. And I think you might still get the same fold equity. The other thing too is that, if you jam here, a guy actually might get a little bit curious because what kind of line would you take where you would jam here? Most guys would have to have like ace king plus here, to jam this line.
Yeah.
So the small blind checks.
Yes. And I come to the conclusion that so I think he snap calls for it, by the way. You're 150 with a king. He's calling me there, like this particular player, just snap. He would beat me into the pot if I bet 150
Really?
there.
Okay. Well, that changes things.
This particular player, yeah.
Okay.
So I decide that the ace gives me extra ammo versus all the kings, and I do go for it. I put it all in.
Well, let me ask you this question though. Is there so you said you have about 450 left, right?
Yes, yeah.
So so you're saying that he'll snap call with a king. Is there an amount though between 150 and all in that's better where you can get him to fold a king that's not all in, like 250, 275? This is again making the assumption that he's going to check call all in with the nut flush draw and any other sandbagged hands that he has.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, I wonder if maybe like 325 or something like that, like just keeping back 120 or something like that.
Yeah, if you think that he's going to snap for 150, I think the answer here is finding a bet size between 150 and all in that you think will get most kings to fold. Whether that's 300, 250, 325, I just don't know what the point of would going. If you find that figure, why would you go more than that? What would be the reason to go more than that?
Yes, agreed. The way I'm thinking this in my head, I reckon 325 would probably in this particular player's mind, because that leaves him not enough to continue playing. So that's the fear. Like, if as you said, he's played late through the night, he's stuck, but he's not ready to leave yet.
So that would get, if you bet 325, I see what you're saying. So if he makes the call, he's kind of out of the game.
Yes.
Whereas if you go smaller, he could call and lose and he would still be in the game. That's an interesting point too. Yeah.
It's something I use quite a lot on weekend nights when somebody comes to the table and with a beer is bet enough that they're going to have to walk away and finish their beer. And I've found it quite effective as a little bit of extra bluff equity with people.
And also, too, that's actually a small stakes. One of the minor small stakes exploits is that sometimes when you just go all in for slightly less, different situation where you leave the guy like valet money or something like that, you don't bring him all the way down to felt. So maybe he owes somebody money or valet money. You're looking at it from a different way. But so you think in retrospect, you probably should have bet a little bit smaller, but you went all in. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And what ended up happening?
He tanks. He tanked. And at that point in time, I was like, why is he tanking? And then he shrugs, counts his chips, shrugs, and then puts it in.
And he calls.
Yes, he called.
And that's what was the reveal here?
He's got the 10-9 of clubs.
10-9 of clubs. So he 10-9 suited. He calls. So he did have one of those slow plays. So small blind calls. And he has 10-9 of clubs. I think it's an interesting hand in talking about efficiency, like river efficiency and what you want to accomplish at the end. I think the answer for you is finding that bet size that will fold out most of, if not all, kings and taking that size as opposed to risking a little bit more. If that size was 325 and you made that bet, then you would have only cost yourself 325 instead of, what was it, like 450, 425, something like that.
Yeah, 450,
Yep.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for the call, Adrian. I appreciate it.